Hello, Abigail here with the astrology of this week. And we're back in it, folks. This week is action packed. Every day except for Monday has at least one aspect. We have a new moon in Pisces. There's just a lot happening. This is also the ending of eclipse season. We are moving into spring. It's the end of the zodiacal year. This is just one of those really big weeks, beginnings and endings converging. A lot is happening. We're going to go through it. We're going to talk about the energies and what's going on. If you enjoy my work, please like and subscribe. Also, you can find me over on IG. You can book a reading with me, all these options, or you can just watch me here. Pick whatever you want. Anyways, so starting off Tuesday, we have Mercury conjunct the North Node. This is also where Mercury is going to be stationing. So we have like 4 days of just kind of sitting, not really 4, 3 days of sitting at this point. So things are going to grind to a halt. Probably a lot of technological stuff will go wrong. Be cautious about, money and spending stuff. If something is blocked, you can't do something. If you can, wait until Mercury is officially forward moving and not, just kind of halted at this degree, chilling, not really doing much. Also, it is conjunct the North Node this whole time. So while we are kind of blocked and unable to do things, a lot of stuff is going to be happening around us. So be prepared to be like, the hell? Why can't we move forward? I will say, bright side, Jupiter is direct. It's still at the degree of its station, but we are headed in the other direction, which is a nice refresh, just to kind of pop that in as a reminder. But this Mercury conjunct the North Node is about the changing of the way that we think, of our patterns, how we spend money. I will say Mercury conjunct the North Node can also make us spend a little too much money. If you're going to spend the money, spend it wisely. Spend it on something that is an investment into your future self, because that is what the North Node is. It is a window into the future. It is a window into where we are headed, into our progression as souls. So this is an opportunity to have an extended peek into this window. Now, might it be overwhelming because it is the curse of being able to see ahead, that you get to see things that are not so pleasant? Yes. But there is an element of being able to sit with what we are experiencing, what we want to do going forward, our resources, our communication. Also, if you are someone who does metaphysical stuff, or has your psychic skills honed enough in order to receive messages and things like that, massive downloads for this whole period of time. Will we be able to do anything with them right away? No. But there will be a lot of information messages. And even if you aren't like really attuned psychically, pay attention to synchronicities, pay attention to, seemingly random ideas and thoughts, and see where they go, because this is really potent energy. And also, just for everybody, not a bad idea to block your credit. You can always go unblock it and pause it if you need to. You can do that for free. But it's not a bad idea with the fact that, the government earlier in the year exposing all of our information and stuff. Just a little message. Do the 3 main credit unions. Yeah, no, not credit unions, are they? I don't know. Maybe they are. But the 3 major credit groups who have ruined our lives by having credit, go and, have that blocked, because then people can't take stuff out in your name. Just so you know. And you can always go and unblock it for specific period of time. That's just a little message for some of you. You need to protect your credit and your ability to take out loans and things like that. Then on Wednesday, we have Venus square Jupiter. This is Venus in Aries, very spicy, very resistant to doing things directly the Venusian way. And then it's square and exalted Jupiter, which is kind of like oil and water in a sense. It's the 2 benefics. This is going to show you where your relationships have cracks. This is going to show you where, even with the help of luck, things aren't going to get better. This is also a point at which we have to face kind of like our capacity and our values and the things that we want going forward. Are they compatible? Are the things that you want compatible with the person that you are. Oftentimes we have dreams and we don't always kind of pull back and go, if I got these dreams, would I be happy? Would they make me happy long term? So this is a day to be like, hey, are my relationships fulfilling me? Have I been manifesting enough? And my thing is like, it's not, I don't want to say manifesting enough. Have I been like putting in the work to get the things? Because you can want something, wanting something is not manifesting. You have to do ritual. You have to put in effort. You have to participate in the universe. And I think for some of us, we might have been delaying some of our stuff because of other people. This might be the day where we're like, oh, I think some of the reason I'm not getting good things is because I'm with someone or I'm friends with someone or I'm in communication with someone who doesn't want those things or who doesn't want me to have good things. And so this is a good check-in to recognize, you know, where our relationships are in alignment, where our values are in alignment, where the things that we want and we crave, where they come up against like harsh reality. I do think this square might bring us some unexpected good stuff that at the time doesn't necessarily feel super good. So, could be a breakup. It could be seeing someone for who they truly are and really being disappointed. And then, like, a couple years later, being like, damn, glad I didn't do that. It's not an easy energy to participate in. It's not a moment that is simple. Um, I also think if you've been resisting Eclipse and Mercury retrograde revelations or just confirmations about someone maybe not being the person for you or not being the best friend for you or a family member who just isn't someone you should have in your sphere right now, you've been avoiding that. I think this is that post eclipse season, like it's still not working. And then once Mercury stations direct, that dysfunction will become more and more clear. So my encouragement to you is if something's over, let it be over. If something's not working, let it not work. This is also a reminder that like luck will only carry you so far. Luck will not take you somewhere that you're not meant to be. That's not luck. Luck is what's best for you. Luck is good things that happen seemingly spontaneously out of nowhere to us. And this Venus square Jupiter is like, you're not going to get the luck for something that's not meant for you. You're not going to get the luck for a path that is not your path. And so it is a moment to be like, hey, am I in alignment with what I want? Especially after eclipse season, which is about realigning us to our purpose and kind of projecting us onto this path. Are we on the path we should be on? Are we doing things that are aligned? Are we doing things for our own values? Or are we doing things because of other externalized values? We're also going to see a lot of pushback publicly and personally to like the aesthetics of society and personal aesthetics. And, the aesthetics of what's going currently and what, is kind of on the surface of things and what personal aesthetics are actually doing. So I said this before about, Neptune and Saturn and Aries, but I think, subversive movements and alt and just a lot of alternative things kind of starting to come to the surface here. And I think that square with Jupiter is that pushing back against what is considered normal and socially acceptable and beautiful is going to come to the forefront. So do something radical this week. Push back against what is considered the norm. Eat more cake, guys. A skinny body is an easily controlled body. And I'm not saying this to skinny shame anybody who is naturally skinny, but if you are depriving yourself of nutrients in order to stay thin, that makes you a more obedient person. So don't be obedient, coming from a Venus in Aries natally. That same day, we have the Sun sextile Uranus. This is about change. This, I think, also watching the final moments of Uranus in Taurus has been difficult. Watching the ecocide happen alongside war and murder and violence has been really rough. And I do think the Sun sextile Uranus is about reclaiming some of that power, about being like, hey, this is not the future that I want, and starting to get real serious about becoming a part of the change. I had someone close to me recently tell me that their whole purpose was raising children and that's why they couldn't be politically engaged. You can't raise good children if you're not good children, but you can't raise children for a future if you're not engaged in the creation of the future, and being engaged with politics is how we shape the future. And so this is a moment to take some of our power back, to buckle into our purpose. I also had a friend recently this week ask me, like, how do I maintain hope and like survival as a disabled person in the world as it is, things like that. And it's about by caring. And no, you can't care about everything all the time, but you can care about the things that you can care about. And that includes finding things that you can focus on. If you're not kind of on the side of being able to advocate and like connecting and being able to handle the humanitarian side of things, you can handle the ecological side of things. You can focus on preserving wetlands, you can focus on farmland preservation and forest, and you know preserving insect populations. You can also, there's more than one way to do these things. There's more than one way to participate in a better future. You don't have to be, it's the same with like protesting. You don't have to be on the front lines to make a difference. um if you aren't good with people and you're like, I would not be good, volunteering for a soup kitchen or participating in like one-to-one mutual aid. I just can't do that physically. Go deal with the bugs. Go chain yourself to a tree. Fight the fights that you can fight the fights that you're built for, which goes back to that kind of Mercury conjunct the North Node this whole time. Like, what is your purpose? What can you do? I think so often we focus on what we can't do because that's how capitalism works, is like feeling bad about your limitations so that you're constantly in this try mentality to like be better for the system. um, but it's not about that. It's about finding your unique skills, your unique talents, your unique perspective, and then pouring that into the collective. And this week, it's like, yeah, the world sucks. What are we going to do about it? Yeah, people in power are monsters who've been running wild for years. What are we going to do about it? I saw someone on Threads who was like, we're going to topple this regime through voting in 8 months. That's not how regimes work. You don't vote them out, you overthrow them. So what are we going to do is really the question. And how are we going to do it? And what innovative ways are we going to do it through, which is Uranus. And so this sun sextile, which I find to be really harmonious, especially because it is Venus ruled and Jupiter ruled. And yeah, it's Venus cutting up, and that's kind of why we're seeing a lot of aggression in the Uranian side of things, more than normal. But it is a Venus who will do what has to be done in spite of discomfort. It is a Venus who will do the hard thing for love, for passion, for desire. And so, how can you take your love and your passion and desire and pour it into your discomfort in order to make the world a different and better place? And no, it's not going to change overnight. A lot of us are not going to live to see it change, but that's not the point. The point is that you do what you can while you can. And that's really the call in today. Also, that Venus square Jupiter, you're going to find people who you love who are going to push back. You're going to have people that you love tell you that they don't have capacity for your pain. They don't have capacity for your existence as a human being. They don't have capacity for the world that you both live in, which who does? And that is going to be a part of that story as well. All of this is so deeply intertwined. It's also just how astrology works. So the first few days of the week are a bit rough. They are these challenges, these confrontations, these beliefs. But these moments are also a call, like I said, to create things that push back, to create things that are subversive, that are countercultural to the norm that is being pushed on us and forced on us. And this is all leading up to that new moon in Pisces, which is when we get out of the eclipse portal. We're out of eclipse jail. And so, as we move to this new moon, which full moon to new moon is kind of the waning side of things, and then the waxing side is on the other side. So we're also wrapping things up, finishing things out, finalizing things. We finalizing eclipse season stuff. Like I said earlier, if you are pushing back against your eclipse lessons, coming from a pro at ignoring the eclipse lessons, um, they will continue to be a problem after this point. So if something continues to be a problem after the eclipse is clear, they're not meant to be, and we maybe ignored the messages from the universe, which we all do sometimes because the heart wants what the heart wants. But I would encourage you as we head to this new moon in Pisces to release, to let go, to fall into the abyss that is this Jupiterian water sign, and to allow the universe to readjust and, restructure where we're headed and what we're going to do. I will make a longer video on this new moon in Pisces. This is a beautiful moment for manifestation. It's the first Pisces new moon since we started the eclipse cycle. Did we have 2 more eclipses? Yes, on that axis, but it's the last. This is the first one out, and we will never have a double one. Well, not never. We'll have it in another 9 years when we have the opposition. But in this moment, this is the breath out that we get after this eclipse cycle. It's the moment where the 2 houses that are affected by the eclipses finally start to stretch and relax and breathe out. So wherever Pisces and Virgo is, check out where that is in your chart. It's in my 1st and 7th. I am breathing a sigh of relief. That'll be a bigger sigh once the nodes shift in the summer. Even though we have those eclipses, there is a sense of ending and a sense of moving into a new energy, which is going to be nice. It's also sextile Uranus, so that energy of committing to better things and finding paths forward and different ways of thinking and moving, that's all going to be happening. And this is a forward motion Jupiter moment. We don't have Jupiter retrograde anymore. It's not, it's still at the station degree, but it's not stationed. And so, we finally are going to get a really nice benefic moment. And I'm real excited for it, if you can't tell. This is a great time to manifest. This is a great time to call things in. This is a beautiful time to start something new. Also, I will say, just a little reminder, there is a hint of ending because this is the last lunation of this zodiacal year. We go into Aries season on the very next day. But this is, a moment to say, hey, I've learned some lessons. Let's start something new with what I have created out of my learning, with what I have created out of my now new sense of knowing and understanding. And then on Friday, Aries season, or the new zodiacal year. Yes, it's going to feel a little sticky because Mercury is stationing direct. And on Mercury station direct days, things tend to get stuck. Then we have the post-shadow period, which is about 3 weeks. So I will say I do think, well, it's not quite as crazy as the last spring equinox, which was between eclipses, and also the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde. While this will still be a little bit sticky, I do think second half. So once we get into April, things are going to start to move a lot easier. And as far as good astrology, Gemini season and Taurus season are about as good as it's going to get, with a bit of Cancer season. And then we head into the eclipses again. So we are looking towards better astrology for shifts and changes. Are we still in a really hugely transitional year? Yes. Do we still have Uranus shifting in April? Yes. The nodes are still shifting, all those things. But we are starting to move. We are starting to get traction. Our lessons are starting to wrap up. So look forward to that as we hit the spring equinox. I will also remind you that Saturn and Neptune are there. So we also might be seeing some really aggressive weather, Mercury retrograde, some aggressive weather problems and patterns happening with Neptune and Saturn. They're still in orb of each other, and they're not going to be out of orb until next year, a little later. So just know that the weather's going to be funky. We're not going to quite get spring fully. And some places are going to see some natural disasters. Unfortunately, that's kind of what Neptune in orb of a malefic gives us. Like I said, Mercury stations direct. It'll take about a day for that to shift and clear, so tis what it is, unfortunately. Then we have Mars on Saturday trine Jupiter. And this I'm actually quite looking forward to. Mars isn't the most direct in Pisces, but with the benefic and the lovely exaltation of Jupiter, it does feel as though we're going to be getting something we've been working on. We're going to be getting something we've been pushing towards. We're going to finally grasp something, some goodness that we have been craving and hungering after. In the very least, this is the start of that attainment, just because the sun will be conjunct Neptune the next day, and then a continuation of having the Saturn conjunction, things like that. But it does feel as though we're going to be able to push something forward. This is a day to throw your shoulder behind something and give it a good shove, especially if you've kind of been like pulled back because of the eclipses, because of the Mercury retrograde. This is that moment to be like, all right, let's go. Let's push some stuff forward. Let's get our teeth into something. This is also the day to maybe say some fun things, some deeply felt things. Um, I personally think you might have some better reception on this day. Will it be a little wild and untamed? Yes, but if you're communicating with someone who loves you, they'll get it, and this might be a breakthrough for you and that person. If they're not that interested in a relationship, this could be a severing, but it'll be a severing for the better. So just know that. Um, like I said, Mars is involved, so cutting something off. But anything that you sever on this day, anything that you release on this day, you're headed towards abundance. There's an element of luck involved, so don't forget that. And then on Sunday, we have the Sun conjunct Neptune. Oh, the delusion, the very spicy delusion. You might find yourself tricked by something on the internet this day. I know when Venus was conjunct to Neptune, I got rage baited a couple of times. And even though we agreed, essentially, I blocked those people because I really hate people who like devil's advocate to get traction online. But yes, I got pulled in and I was like, darn. Doesn't help that it was close to my natal Venus as well. It is what it is. But with the Sun conjunct Neptune, there is an element of being able to believe in something really strongly and some delulu for the salulu, if you will, with being able to kind of dream a bit larger than life. However, we still have Saturn in orb, and so those dreams are going to require some type of effort and slowdown. Saturn in Aries is also like what happens when you act too quickly and then have consequences. I will also say, just a side note to those who have Saturn in Aries, if you made rash decisions in your 20s, they may bite you in the butt during your Saturn return. They may not work out, which is fine. It's a lesson learned. I have a few people in mind, but they're not really into astrology. In fact, astrology is of the devil. What am I thinking? um, yes, they are my religious family members. So this is a moment where kind of after that push and the shove on, Saturday, the sun is still in orb of Neptune. Um, we might come up against having to like reconsider something or think something is some way, and then once we get into next week, we're like, oh well, I was misinformed, or oh, that's not possible because I don't really want that. But the nice thing about a Sun Neptune conjunction is that there is an element of dreaminess, even in a fire sign. There is an element of um, confidence, especially in Aries, and maybe overselling oneself. So maybe be cautious and make sure you don't overcommit on Sunday to something that you don't want to actually do, but that you feel quite empowered to do at the time. Um, but enjoy the dreamy quality, especially after kind of like the hard facts of the beginning of this week. Um, Take some time to chill. Let Sunday be what Sunday is. Let Sunday just vibe. Also, it is the sun's day, and so the sun is getting an extra elevation in this moment. And, just let it be what it is. If you want to engage in fantasy, engage in fantasy. I will say maybe some spicy fantasy might be more what you need. So indulge yourself, have some fun, knowing that you will have to come back to reality eventually, knowing that you will have to touch down, especially once the sun goes conjunct Neptune. Let me check my notes. On Wednesday, which it'll be an orb that whole time. Um, so yeah, and then we have a sun sextile Pluto. So next week is fun, guys. Anyways, that is the energy for this week. It is another week of a lot, and not a lot of breathing room. But I do think there's a lot of sweetness and a lot of progress to be found in this week. And I think if you're looking, you will find those things. Just know that there is a sense of stalling on top of it, and it will be more in the mundane things until we get cleared through the Mercury going direct and actually moving away from its degree of station. All right, my loves, this is all that I have for you. I really hope you have a wonderful week and that it does bring you something good and sweet and delicious.